and I really don't believe it's going to be Jessie Bates. You already kind of laid it out. He's going to want to become the highest paid safety in football. Not above and beyond what the Ravens are putting on the table right now with the franchise tag. Oh, no. He's going to want to surpass Jamal Adams as the highest paid safety, which is knocking up at $15 million a year, which is knocking up on $40 million guaranteed. Oh, that's what it's going to take. And then, oh, by the way, you got to acquire him from Cincinnati. So you got to give something up. It's the same exact thing they did with A.J. Brown. They knew they were going to have to meet Tennessee's price to just give the player up, and then they were going to have to go to the levels they went to get him signed. Oh, Jessie Bates is going to be too expensive. A Football Friday edition of Birds 365. You got Mac. That would be John McMullen and Jody McDonald here hanging with you. We got a couple of good guests coming your way over the next couple of hours. J-Mac, it almost feels like a spring Friday. We haven't had enough of those this year. We're still hanging in the winter and the fall weather-wise, but today it looks like it's going to be real nice.
Yeah, but then it's going to jump right into the oppressive heat. So it's one of those things where you got to go straight from the heater to the air condition. It's no fun. It's going to be 97, Jody, on Saturday.
97 tomorrow?
97
Holy
on Saturday. And it's good because we have noted weatherman Howard Eskin on in the second hour. So good way to start the show.
We might have to ask Howard a couple of weather questions.
Yeah, man. He did the weather. He'll tell you he did the weather.
He is of strong opinion on how the people do the weather. I go outside and hang out for like 30 seconds. That's how I judge what the weather's going to be. That works better than checking out any meteorologist's predictions. Just easier to go outside. And I went outside this morning, and damn, it was nice. But we're inside today for the next 2 hours to talk Eagles football. Certainly still evaluating what the addition of James Bradberry means to the Philadelphia Eagles. What it means to me, maybe more than anything else, John, is Howie Roseman has done an outstanding job of checking off things on his to-do list since the end of the year. The year ended with a pretty good beatdown down in Tampa, making the playoffs, having a winning season in a transitional year as deemed by the owners was a pretty damn good accomplishment and a successful season in my mind. But they wanted to up the tempo for this upcoming year. And despite the fact that Jeff Lurie said they're trying to serve two masters, improve for 2022, but also keep an eye on the long-term future of the Philadelphia Eagles, a move like Bradberry kind of pushes more chips in toward the 2022 pile, which Howie Roseman's done an outstanding job with his to-do list. Needed to upgrade it, got it done. Started the offseason, needed to upgrade on the edge, got it done with Hassan Reddick. Needed to improve versatility and athleticism at the linebacker position, got it done with Kazir White. Depth, the draft, the Juergens, and the Jacoby Deans. Now, you know how much I like Jacoby Dean. I think he's going to be a long-term major piece for the Philadelphia Eagles to get him in the third round, just a stone-cold steal. Getting a actual nose tackle to improve run defense. Got that done with their first-round pick, Jordan Davis. There seems to be one more thing on the to-do list, and it's the other starting safety position. As of right now, it's Marcus Epps, who will step up from a substitutional role to a starting role. You and I both kind of think he's the stronger of the two safeties the Eagles have as their two starters.
Yeah, I don't think he's the other safety. Yeah, I think he's not the other safety. But, yeah, I get your point. I think it'll be – if they do get an upgrade, I think Anthony Harris is the one, you know. Who knows? I mean, they don't even pay Anthony enough to say if you go out and get a high-profile safety that he's going to make the 53-man roster because – you know, is he going to help on special teams and all that kind of stuff? So, yeah, I kind of think Marcus is more entrenched than Anthony. A couple people agree with me. Bo Wolf agreed with me yesterday. We had him on the show. Most people don't agree with me, but we'll see how it shakes out. But I get where people are saying, all right, now it's on to safety. And I get the two names. We've been talking about one of them a lot. I think Clark makes more sense if you can make a trade than going and making the big splash for a franchise level player. And that would be Cincinnati's. Why I'm losing.
Bates.
Yeah, Jessie Bates. I don't know. I don't know. It seems to me, I think about what the Eagles kind of foreshadowed or highlighted what they want in a safety by going after Marcus Williams. And they were willing to go over $10 million a year for Marcus Williams, which is sort of out of character. So on one hand, they've proven, Jody, that they'll go after a safety they think is valuable to them. On the other hand, I think they think that these safeties that are valuable are the coverage safeties, the guys who are going to play center field that have tremendous range, as opposed to the more box safety, the more Malcolm Jenkins type for local fans. The guy who's going to play near the line of scrimmage, the guy's going to be more physical. That's the way I kind of feel. So I don't know if Jessie Bates is. I think Jessie Bates is more of closer to the latter than the former, closer to Malcolm Jenkins than Marcus Williams. So I'm not sure he's the type of safety that they would want to go 10 million plus for, and they'd have to go even higher for him. They'd have to go in the 13, 14 million range, most likely, average annual value. I'm not sure that's the type of player they want. Now, you could say the same thing about Clark as well, but he's not going to be as expensive. So to me, it's more of an upgrade. And by the way, Marcus Epps and Anthony Harris are more center field types. So there's a complement aspect to this as well, in that if you get the box safety, you don't have to do as much finagling around as if you get the two center fielders, so to speak, which is kind of what the Eagles have right now, so if that makes sense.
The reason you and I are on the same page about if you're ranking the current safeties under contract to the Philadelphia Eagles, who do I think is a more talented player right now? Yeah, I'm going to say Marcus Epps. The reason why I think if one of them is to be replaced and become just a fill-in type safety, that I think it still could be more Epps than Harris, is the veteran aspect of it and the leader of the defense aspect of it. Harris did some of that last year when McLeod was out of the lineup. They don't have your main linebacker position. TJ Edwards has not been that during his tenure with the Philadelphia Eagles. Somebody's got to be the quote-unquote captain of the defense with the speaker in his helmet. And I think Harris is more likely to do that than Epps. Do you think the Eagles put as much emphasis as I'm putting on it, the guy who was in communication with the coaching staff, calling signals, the guy in the huddle, do you think that plays a factor in a decision? If the Eagles were to get another safety, and oh, by the way, I'm with you, it will not be Jessie Bates. The Eagles just can't play in that market right now. But if they were to go out and try and get another safety, and one of the guys who right now we list as one of the two Eagles starters becomes a situational substitution guy, does the fact that Harris has been there, done that, already been the starter, already had that role, help him keep it?
Yeah, I mean, that's the argument for him. The veteran player, the steady presence, knows Jonathan Gannon's defense better than most people on this particular team, because he was with him before as well. So, yeah, I mean, the old school, the green dot is what they call it these days, the player with the green dot on his helmet. Typically would be the old school middle linebacker, the Mike linebacker. But, most Mike linebackers don't play three downs. So a lot of people have shifted it towards safety. But one thing, we talked to Avonte Maddox this week, and he raved about how smart Marcus Epps is. So you start to see that developing about his football IQ, and the Eagles have done it as well. So I think they see him as that type. Now, is he ready to do it? I remember when Jordan Hicks got hurt and Jim Schwartz was here, and we made a big deal out of it because Jordan was a 3-down linebacker at that point. And they gave the green dot to Nigel Bradham. And we're like, was Nigel going to be – we made it, you know, there's about 150 stories. Is Nigel going to be able to do this? It's not. And Jim was like, you know, I'm basically just giving them the call in the helmet. I mean, you just tell the players what I call. So he kind of downplayed it. You know, if it were a dead even competition, maybe that would be the thing that tilts you in one direction. But I don't think coordinators think it's as big as it used to be, when maybe there were more adjustments and maybe you scale back, and now it's more of, I hate to say college-like, but it's more college-like. You just you radio what you want in the helmet, and they just relay it. It's not as much audible, sort of audible from a defensive perspective as it used to be.
Not as big a deal. Okay. That's Jim Schwartz's take. I don't know what Gannon's take would be. It changes with the guy who's actually calling the signal. I do put a level of importance on it still. And, oh, by the way, if you're looking at 2023 and beyond, Nakobe Dean is going to be that guy. He's not going to be it this year because he's a rookie and he's going to play as much as he's going to play. I think in the second half of the season, it could be a major amount. And if they wanted to make a change on the fly, they might do it. He won't start in that role at the beginning of the season. But going forward, don't kid yourself. I think he's going to be a 3-down linebacker, and I think he's going to be a guy who's going to be getting the signals going forward. But we do need to figure out the start of this year. And I really don't believe it's going to be Jessie Bates. You already kind of laid it out. He's going to want to become the highest paid safety in football. Not above and beyond what the Ravens are putting on the table right now with the franchise tag. Oh, no. He's going to want to surpass Jamal Adams as the highest paid safety, which is knocking up at $15 million a year, which is knocking up on $40 million guaranteed. Oh, that's what it's going to take. And then, oh, by the way, you got to acquire him from Cincinnati. So you got to give something up. It's the same exact thing they did with A.J. Brown. They knew they were going to have to meet Tennessee's price to just give the player up, and then they were going to have to go to the levels they went to get him signed. Oh, Jessie Bates is going to be too expensive. I know he's a very good player, and people are now having tons of confidence in Howie Roseman that he can get anything done because he's had the offseason that he's had. This one he's not going to be able to get done, John. The Eagles just aren't in position to do it.
You know, I agree with you in the fact that, excuse me, you mentioned Adams, and you also look at Minkah Fitzpatrick, recent safeties that were traded, high-level safeties, and they both got first-round picks. In the case of Adams, it was 2 first-round picks. So that's kind of where you set the price on top before you even get to the money. So I don't think the Eagles would want to go there for that particular position. Now, I said the same thing about receiver, and I was wrong. So I get the people are, you know, who want to say, well, they did it there. So, and that's fair. If they like a player, one thing Howie has told me behind the scenes, if they like a player, again, I talk about evaluation, don't go get him. If they like the player, if they think the player is a difference maker, and that could be at any position. I often bring up Christian McCaffrey. They would have drafted Christian McCaffrey in the first round of the draft, that running back. That's how much they like that particular player. So there are guys, even at positions you wouldn't think of. Linebacker. I don't know who, but some year, if there's somebody who they think is so unique, the so-called unicorn, they will draft that player. Even though he's a linebacker. So I don't think Bates is that player for them. And that's why I brought it up at the start. And we'll see if I'm right or wrong on that. But the second part that leaves the door a little bit open when you start comparing Adams or Fitzpatrick, Cincinnati. I talk about it all the time. Cincinnati is legitimately cheap. They don't like to spend money. They drafted a safety. So everybody's putting 2 and 2 together. and saying, well, yeah, but it's Cincinnati. They're not going to hold the fort like the Jets would or Miami would for Adams, Fitzpatrick. They might be willing to give a little bit of a discount just to get the headache off their plate. Is that the case? I don't know. I don't think so. But that's why people look at Cincinnati and say, well, yeah, but it's Cincinnati. And maybe they just want to get out of it.
Yeah, but I'll go this route with, yeah, but it's Cincinnati. Carson Palmer sit out an entire year?
No, he didn't sit out the entire year. He got traded.
Did he get traded in mid-season?
Yeah.
Okay. But he sat all the way through camp and missed games, and Cincinnati said, hey, if you don't want to play, we're not going to force you to play. They when they need to can go hard line, and I think there's a real good chance that Bates isn't there for the beginning of training camp or whenever it gets underway. Cincinnati is not one that always budges for players and says, okay, we got to fold now. We got to make sure we get our thing.
No, well, it's not the fold as far as the player, Jody. I meant the fold as far as the money. And quarterbacks, quarterbacks are different because you know the value of a quarterback. I never like to compare positional players to quarterbacks.
Right. And they held tight on a quarterback, so they'll hold tight on a safety for sure.
Well, no, my thought is it's far easier to hold on a quarterback than a safety. Is
easier?
Yeah, but safety. Everybody wants a quarterback. Everybody, especially one like Carson Palmer. Everybody's looking for quarterbacks.
Oh, you're talking holding for the asking price.
Yeah,
I'm talking holding, caving, and giving the player what he wants as far as the contract goes.
No, yeah, I'm talking for an asking price.
Okay.
If the Bengals decide, look, we just don't want the player, I don't think it's going to happen. I'm saying people open the door, keep the door open a little ajar because of the way Cincinnati runs their organization. I talk about it all the time with the scouts. They run their organization, shoestring budget. That's just what they do. And that's why people, and I've seen this written in a few places and say, well, it's a little bit different with Cincinnati. But and that's why they leave the door open. So there's a number of strikes here. I don't think the Eagles are going to evaluate the player to where they want to give up a high-level draft pick plus $15 million a year. Number two, I do think Cincinnati has gotten smarter over the years. They made it to the stinking Super Bowl. They're not what they used to be. Now, part of that is luck with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and being at the top of the draft. But I think they have gotten smarter with Duke Tobin, and he's, winning Executive of the Year awards with his 6 scouts, so he knows what he's stinking doing. So I think it's very, very unlikely. I'm only saying that's why people bring it up. And I think Cincinnati's changed from that aspect, at least from an evaluation standpoint. They was very smart, very, very good general manager. And even though he doesn't have a support staff, I don't think he's going to make mistakes like that.
Right. So it's a minimum of first-round draft pick in exchange, even if teams are trying to hold the Bengals up. I don't think they're going to pack it in and just say, well, we got to take what we got to take and we got to move on. No, they're the defending AFC champions. This is not, we're in a rebuild mode and we can be a little bit softer on our asking price. I think it's going to be hard and fast. I think it's going to be well into camp before this thing gets decided. And I got bad news for the Eagle fans. If they're dying to get their hands on Jessie Bates and plug him into the Eagle secondary, I just don't think the Eagles are going there. And more so, not because of the asking price of the first-round pick, which, oh, by the way, let's remember again, the Eagles have 2 next year. They have the Saints' first-round draft pick. I think it's the money aspect of it. We don't know how they're going to structure the Bradbury deal and how much cap room they actually have left. Howie Roseman also realizes anytime you do one of these let's squeeze them in deals, that means you're renegotiating contracts with other players to open up cap space. If you're going to get Jessie Bates, you're going to have to do a contract extension with him, and then you can only reduce that first year so much if you're giving him a ton of money in guaranteed signing bonuses and the like. What's he going to sign, a 9-year contract? and spread it out over 9 years. And then when you move on from him, you take this massive cap hit. We know the Eagles willing to do that because they did it with Carson Wentz. But that does make your going into that season very difficult. I just don't think the Eagles are going to get involved in this market, John.
No, I agree. And, you know, they just don't value the position that much. And for them to pay that money at that position, they have to think it's a unicorn level player, a Christian McCaffrey type unique level player at that particular position. I don't think they're going to evaluate Jessie Bates as that. I think Marcus Williams is the ceiling of what they would pay somebody at that position. And I think they want a center fielder more than a box safety. So for all those tea leaves, I do not think Jessie Bates is a fit for the Eagles at what he is going to cost.
All right, coming up next here on Birds 365, the first of our two guests. We got two good ones coming on. Our football author and NFL Hall of Fame voter, Jason Cole, been on with us previously here on Birds 365. Always does a great job, is hopping on with us, and we'll talk both Eagles and the entire National Football League with Jason. And then in hour number two, Howard Eskin, his first appearance on Birds 365.
No, he was here before. Second, Jody. Second. We had Howard on before.
If you did, I wasn't here.
Were you not here?
I don't know who the heck you had him on with, but I've never done Birds 365 with Howard.
Well, we've had Howard. I need Xander. If Xander's around, Tone, because he's the historian. I know we had Howard. Maybe it was the day you had off, maybe something. But we have had Howard.
Yeah, that would be the first time I've ever talked to Howard here on Birds 365. Again, I've only missed a handful of shows in a year and change. So yeah,
Howard, do the homework on that. I need a Birds 365 historian, or maybe the listeners remember.
Yeah.
Here we go. Xander just chimed in. Howard Eskin gives insider analysis on Zach Ertz on 365, but I just have the link for it.
Okay. Do you don't have the date for it?
I'll try to figure it out in the break.
Okay. Yeah, I don't remember ever having Howard on Birds 365 before, but that's okay. Howard is going to be here in hour number two, but first, Jason Cole is going to jump aboard here on Birds 365.